Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is your girl Ishegun Tolu Haya Adewusi. This is another amazing time in the kitchen, me sharing some of my recipes with you, and it is always a great time when I have to show you how to make things faster, you know, when you don't have to stay in the kitchen for a very long time. And today I'm gonna be doing something very simple and something that in any Nigerian home is a staple, which is white rice and fish stew. So if it is not fish stew, it might be chicken stew, goat meat stew, mixed meat stew, but it's just a very everyday go-to dish. If you enter an African home, be it in Ghana, in Cameroon, in Nigeria, in Sierra Leone, Congo, any African home you enter, one of the favorite common dishes is rice. We are used to our white rice and we eat it with different kind of soup or stews, but today it is fish stew that I'm doing with the white rice. This is something that when I was young, it is almost every other day we have rice and stew in our house, either fried stew, fish stew, chicken stew. It is always rice and something going on in that house. So I just want to bring you something that is very common and that is very home to me. So guys, please do not forget to subscribe to my channel. Do not forget to like this video and all the other ones, and always share. I have to remember to say that sometimes I always forget. So now the ingredients we're gonna be using for this dish is, of course, I said fish stew, right? So we're going for tilapia fish today. So this is the fish that I'm gonna be using. This is the tilapia fish, you see that? And this is an old tilapia fish. And guys, African people will eat the head of the fish. Americans can get rid of it. They do not like to see the eyes of the fish staring back. But in Africa, every part of the fish is useful except the guts that we take out and we throw out. So now I already have my fish cut up. It's sitting down in a salt bath. So I cleaned it up, I cut it up, and I put it in a salt water. And the reason why I do that is it helps the fish suck in some of that flavor, so that by the time I cook it, the fish tastes good. You just don't want the sauce, the stew, to taste good and the fish doesn't. Everything has to kind of like complement each other and balance itself well. And in this bowl, I have my tomato puree. This is my tomato puree base that I use for my stews, that I use for my jollof rice. I use it for all kind of dishes, and mainly what I have in here is my bell pepper, my Roma pepper, and my onions all blended together. That is what is in this bowl. So let me move that out of the way. And definitely I'm gonna be using some oil to cook this fish stew, and I'm gonna be slicing some onions to start it up. Then for the rice, I'm gonna be cooking 3 cups of parboiled rice. This is about 3 cups of parboiled rice, and if you look at it, this rice is one of the rice that when you cook, it doesn't really stick to each other. There are different kind of rice out there, and each region in Africa eats different kind of rice. Like when I talk about my Ghanaian folks likes to eat the jasmine rice, I think. Like my Congolese people like to eat the basmati rice. In Nigeria, in Liberia, we like to eat the parboiled rice. So in different places, they're used to a type of rice that they like to eat. But we in this house, we actually do all kind of rice. I do the jasmine rice, I do the basmati, I do the long grain, I do the parboiled, but this is a parboiled rice that I'm using today. I'm going home, straight home. So I'm using the parboiled rice today. And for this rice, it's just basically rice, water, salt, oil, and onions, just for seasoning. But the seasoning I'm gonna be using for the fish stew, of course, I'm gonna be using some thyme leaves. I'm gonna be using some curry. This is ginger and garlic paste. I'm gonna be using that. I'm gonna be using chicken bouillon, and I'm gonna be using some salt. So this is the ingredients I'm using for my white rice and fish stew. Guys, this is Tolu Cook. and let the fun begin.
Tell me who you know, who plans better, that dream come true. Yeah. She not there disappoint.
The first thing I would like to show you guys is how I achieve this. This is the tilapia fish I like to use. If you do not like to touch fish or chicken, please put on some gloves. I am an African woman. I wash my hands with soap after I do with my fish, my chicken, my meat. I wash all my surfaces. I make sure that everything is clean before I put the next thing on it. So the first thing I like to do is I like to make sure that I cut the side open. You see how the side is cut open? You cut that side open if it's not already cut, and you take out all the dirty. Then you go to the head, you spread the eggs out, and once you spread the heads out, if you have your fish like this, it's easier for you to go and pinch it from the bottom. You see that? I pinched all the way from the bottom and I yanked that out, and that is actually trash. So now you see the fish is clean. So what I do next is I get my scissors. I try and trim out all the fins. And fish of this size, I like to cut this into 3. You might want to make more pieces out of it. You might want to just cut it into 2, or you can cook it whole. But the reason why I do not like to make mine so tiny is because when you cook it in your stew, it has a tendency of breaking apart and the whole stew becomes messy. So I just go ahead. You can either start from the bottom or start from the top, but I go ahead, I try and get my knife into the middle of the bone, and I just cut down. And I do the same thing too with the last piece, and I cut down, and that is my 3 piece. And I put it in a bowl, I rinse it over again, and that way I go ahead and rinse it again, and I put it in a salt water, and that is what we have right here. So I go ahead and I put my fish into my air fryer. I do not want to fry it, but I want it to kind of like get firmed up so it doesn't fall out and break into the soup. This quantity of fish for the size of my air fryer, I'm gonna have to do it twice, because everything is not gonna fit at once. So I have the first set in. I'm gonna put it in on the 350 for 15 minutes, and I'm gonna let it go ahead and do its own thing while I have the rest of the fish still sitting in the salt water. And at this time, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start working on my onions, so that way I can start chopping the onions. And I'm gonna wash up the rice and I'm gonna put it in the pot. I have my onions ready, and I'm gonna use this onions for the rice and also for my fish stew. We have the onions ready to go right here. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start washing out my rice. I'm gonna go ahead and put water in the pan so that it can start boiling for the white rice. I already washed the rice and it's here, it's ready to go. The onions is already sliced up, ready to go. So I'm just gonna put water in the pan and I'm gonna put it on the stove and let it start boiling for the rice. In the meantime, while the water is boiling for the rice, I do not just want to put the rice into cold water. At least I want the water to be warm before I put in the rice and let that start cooking. So I'm gonna go over to the other side of the stove. I will turn that on for our pots to dry out so that I can start with the fish stew. Remember, the fish is still in the air fryer. We're trying to dry it up a little bit so that it doesn't break apart easily in the stew. You can fry your fish or you can just cook it like that. When you cook the fresh fish in the stew straight up, it is called omoyo in my culture. That is called fresh fish stew. But when you fry the fish, it's just fish stew. When you bake the fish, it's just fish stew. Whenever you do anything to the fresh fish, it is no longer called omoyo, it is called fish stew. So I'm just trying to dry it a little bit because I do not want it to fall apart. I will do a video for you guys on how we cook our fresh fish stew. I might probably use maybe a red snapper or use a whitening, like a different kind of fish, to kind of show you guys other kind of fish that you can also cook. There is a lot, and I love different kind of fish. We have our pot already dry. For the fish stew, we're gonna put in about, I'm cooking a little bit more, so we're gonna put in about 1 cup of oil, and I'm gonna let that oil start warming up. So over here, the water is already boiling for my rice. This is the time you just don't want everything to just drop at once. You just, because it's been washed and the water already drained out, we're gonna let that rice slide into the water easily. And once you have your rice in the water, we're gonna let that go on for like about 5 to 10 minutes. Then I'm gonna wash out the starch. And over here, the oil in the pot is going, so I'm just gonna scoop in like an handful of onions. There we go. And I'm gonna get out another clean spoon. And move that around. So now that the onions is going in here, I'm gonna go ahead and scoop in my ginger and garlic paste, because I want the onions, the ginger, and the garlic to fry together. It's frying well. Look at that. You do not want your onions to start browning. That means it's burning. So you want to mix that well together. Then we have our sauce. This is the tomato based. It is tomatoes, bell pepper, and onions blended together. We're gonna go ahead and pour that into the soup. So you want to be careful. You do not want things splashing. So you want to make it close enough and drop that in. You see that? We're gonna let it go on for about 5 minutes, then we're gonna come back and season it and cover it and let it cook down a little bit. So over here on the rice section, you can see that the rice is boiling, and if I try and get out some of the broth, you see it's now white, so that's some of the starch. So we're just gonna let it go on for like maybe 3 more minutes. Then we're gonna go to the sink and wash the rice. We're gonna rinse out some of the starch and bring it back to the stove. Okay. Our rice is ready to parboil. So I'm gonna take the rice over to the sink, and I have a sieve. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put the rice into the sieve so I can rinse it out and put it back in the pot. So at this point, I already parboiled my rice, and if you look in here, you can see that the rice is at the same level with the water. So I put in some onions, I put in half teaspoon of salt and some olive oil, and I'm gonna cover this and I'm gonna let it cook till the water dries out. And that is it for the rice. Now for the fish stew, okay, so if you look in here, everything is melted. So I'm gonna, oh, we still have a little one here, but it's gonna melt. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm still using half teaspoon. So I'm gonna put in half teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of bouillon. I'm gonna use half of thyme and half of curry, and I'm gonna mix well. You do not want to season your fish stew too much because you do not want it to be overbearing. It's fish, it doesn't have a whole lot of meat to suck in too much of the seasoning, so you do not want it to be overpowering. It's better that it's not enough and you can add more than for it to be too much and you cannot take away from it and it becomes inedible. So we're gonna let that cover because I need some of the liquid in that to cook down. And my fish is ready. This is the first part of the fish. I do not want it to brown more than this. I just want it to dry just a little bit so it can hold each other, and I'm gonna go in and put in the other half, the other batch of the fish. Okay, there we go. That's what we're going for. We do not want our rice to be sticky, and this rice is ready. Yes, it is. You can hear that? That means it's dry. There is no water in this rice. There you go. This is what we want. We do not want our rice sticking, and when you take the rice and you press it, the rice has to, you see that? The rice breaks. It's not so mushy, but it is soft enough for you to be able to use your hand, and that's what we're going for. So now we can put this to the back burner. If we come and look in here, this is the sauce. You see, it's beginning to thicken up on the bottom. That tells you that some of the water is drying up, and the oil is not yet to the top, so this is not totally ready. So at this stage, this is when I put in my fish when it starts, because I do not want it to thicken all the way. Then there's no sauce in it, there's no water in it to cook down my fish. So you see that? So now I'm gonna add in my fish. So this is the first part of the fish that I did. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that in. Now we have the fish in the stew. You can see that I put in on the fish. This is not the time you want to mix because you're gonna break the fish. So what you really want to do at this point is take the pot and gently move it around. You want to gently move that around. Then I'm gonna go ahead and put in a little bit of onions to top it off. And at this point, I'm gonna put in half, just a little bit more than half of the bouillon, and not up to a whole half of the salt. and I just use my spoon to kind of like do the juice. I'm not gonna mix it all the way to the bottom. I'm gonna shake the pot around. That way I get everything mixed in without breaking up my fish. So from the sides you can. So I have that in there. I'm gonna cover it and I'm gonna shake. So I shake it around. Don't shake it to the point that it's gonna start pouring. So these helps all the seasoning move around, and I'm gonna let this go on for like 7 minutes, because that way I want the fish to suck in all the flavors, all the seasoning in the sauce. Okay, I'll show you what it looks like in a little bit. Okay, I think our fish stew is ready. The fish did not have to cook for too long. Remember, we dried it a little bit, which is part of the cooking process. And if you look in here, don't let me show you the head, because some people don't like to see the head of the fish. So like this is the middle. It doesn't look like a fried fish, right? It's not dry and it's not breaking apart. So that's another piece. You want to be careful not to use your spoon and break up all the fish. Then your fish still looks messy. So we have our fish stew ready, and by the time I shake it all together, it is not so watery. So when you want to mix this, you just go on the sides. You do not want to mix all together. You're gonna break the fish. We have our fish stew. This fish stew is ready. You can see it's not watery and it's not fried. That's how you want your fish stew. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna plate this for you so you can see how it looks on the plate. My people, we don't do them again. No, this is white rice and fish stew. Wow, see how amazing this dish looks. This is a go-to dish in any African home. If you walk into an African home and you're looking for something to use to entertain you, guess what? There is 90% chance that you're gonna be eating rice or fufu. That is what we go to for entertainment when people come and visit, whether it is jollof rice, fried rice, white rice, coconut rice, rice and beans, name it. Rice is always something that we cook for all our parties. For anything we do, we love rice. So this is how we fix our white rice and fish stew. I hope you have enjoyed cooking with me today. I hope you're gonna try out my recipe and let me know what you think. Or if you think that there's something I did that it's not so okay, let me know. I love to hear back from you. And if you feel like there's a particular way you want me to try out some recipe, or if you have a special recipe you want Tolu to try and see how I can actually cook your whole food, please share it with me. Or if there is something in any of my videos that I've done that you do not understand, if there is a step that you felt maybe I skipped, or you did not see it clearly, you did not understand exactly what I was trying to do or what I was doing, send me a message and I would love to go back over the video with you, or to kind of like share more info about what you think might be missing. I love you guys. Thank you for always watching and for sharing my video, for liking it, and for subscribing to my channel. Have you clicked the bell? You need to click the bell so that every time I drop a new video, you are one of the first people to get the notification. Please subscribe to my channel. Keep me encouraged. Keep me going. I love you. Remember to hold on to your faith. Love your family and never let go of the wonderful, beautiful friend. This is the tree of life. It keeps us grounded. I love you. I love you. I love you. This is your girl, Isegoluwa Tolu Lokpe. See you in the next video.